Hey, what's good everyone? We back with another Average Gamer Reviews video. So, today I want to welcome you to Little Nightmares 2. I'm going to keep these videos to at least one per week. I do have a backlog of games to review, so hopefully it wouldn't be too bad. They are quite old, but hopefully I'll pick up some newer titles. But yeah, I've changed the format a bit. I have added a bit of a review per section and my rating per section in the section itself instead of at the end in a conclusion. I feel like that will allow us the video to flow better and you get an understanding of why I rated it that way after hearing everything I talked about. So hopefully overall it'll be better. If not, let me know down in the comments down below. I was about to say description, but you don't write in the description, you write in the comments. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Now let's get to the game. To start with, Little Nightmares 2 is the sequel to the first game, as you would have guessed, and it takes place, I believe, after. I don't think it's a sequel. I think it's a. I don't think it's a prequel. I think it is a sequel to the events. And if I'm wrong, take it with a grain of salt, because I probably didn't understand that part. The game is very much like the first one. It is an adventure horror game based around a small child who is in the crosshair of everyone and everything in this world, apart from other small children and little gnome dudes. They're also safe. Let's talk about the story a bit. As this is a spoiler-free review, I'm only going to mention the first section of the game, as well as a small chunk of the second section. Shouldn't be too bad, but this is like a quarter of the game, but it is a smaller quarter. As you go on, they get longer and longer. In this game, you awaken inside of a small you awaken in a small suitcase. Why was that so hard to say? Oh my god, I'm keeping that in, I don't care. In this game, you awaken in a small suitcase, which implies it's a sequel, but it is exactly how the first game started. Upon waking up, you only have two options. Option 1 is head to the right. Option 2 is quit the game and move on. As you head into the forest further to the right, you come across a lot of bear traps. These bear traps are hidden in the foliage, and this is mainly the tutorial area telling you there are traps in this game and this is how you defuse them, and this is what happens when you die. It does feel like there is someone hunting, because there are a lot of human corpses and dead people along the way, and like trapped in traps, I guess. So it does feel like there's someone hunting here. After you clear the field of bear traps, and you come across a small cottage with what looks like human dolls scattered around. It's like giant dolls of humans. They're like cursed and shit. But yeah, not a single human in sight inside of this building, apart from in the basement, where you come across another small child. And this other child is the second character of the game. Yes, this game does have two main characters, the protagonist and the supportive cast, I guess. You cannot control the other character, but they are along for the journey. Once you free the other character, you team up with them to escape the clutches of the hunter who is in this area. Yes, the first section is based around getting away from a hunter, and essentially that's the first section done and dusted. There is a main story which revolves around the main character being sucked into televisions and having some sort of affinity to them, but that is told throughout the story and more in depth towards the end. And as this is a spoiler-free review, I'm not going to mention that any further, at least. Now that I've talked about the story a bit, let me give you my opinion. And I think this story is either super simple, as you get what you see what you get, or it has a deeper meaning, a more complex story that I haven't even scratched the surface of. I'm inclined to think it's the former, because I don't feel stupid that way, and that is a huge improvement over the first game, as that one didn't really have a semblance of a story apart from you want to live. The story is told through visual aspects 100% of the time. There is no dialogue, there is no letters telling you what's going on. It is all gameplay and visuals. That being said, I am giving the story a 7 out of 10 rating, as it was pretty good. Onto the gameplay. The core gameplay of this game is similar to the first game, in which you run, hide, and jump around to try and reach the end of the zone, not die to obstacles or enemies in the area. There is a new feature in the game that was added from the DLC of the previous game, whereby the main character is assisted by a secondary character in order to complete certain tasks. The difference being from the DLC is that this is a whole new character instead of being a generic gnome. And this character is reviewed from start to finish, minus a few solo sections when they're not there. When comparing this game to the first one, there is also a new mechanic, you could say. I guess every new mechanic is new because it's a whole game. But in this one, compared to the last one, you have the ability to actually fight back. This was only seen in the final boss of the first game, but in this game it is prevalent throughout. You are able to pick up various items like twigs, hammers, and lead pipes to attack enemies and kill them with, which does add a new system to the game. As for gameplay goes, it is very simple but effective. The jumping did feel a bit rigid and the puzzles were uninspired and generic. The combat was fun but limited. There was never really a time where you saw a weapon and didn't need it, making it very predictable when you're going to be entering a combat. Overall, I gave the gameplay a 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty damn good, but not the best. Now, graphics and art style, and I'll talk about the design aspects here as well. I think the game looks great. The cartoony horror style is an amazing fit here. The wider range of characters is great to see. The previous game only had about 6 types of enemies, and some of them were just reused continuously. At least here they had new ones instead of copying and pasting. The scenes were vibrant. There was a lot more stuff. It felt more immersive. They had a new little feature of spanning corridors, which did add to the immersion, but gameplay wise was annoying, and I'll talk about it in a second. But overall, the exploration was still left to right, and I feel like the devs had a lot more creative freedom, as they're no longer stuck on a ship and they could freely update anything they want. Right, overall, I do think that the devs did a great job making the game and the character feel very small and insignificant in this huge scary world, which I'm assuming was their goal. There was a few things I wanted to mention. So first things first, the animation of some of the enemies was not great. It felt strange and robotic, and it did not feel fine. It was mainly to do with like the teacher and some of the other bigger enemies. Smaller enemies felt good, but the larger ones needed a bit more work. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is the long spanning corridors. They added to immersion quite well, but they were useless in all cases. I don't think there was ever a case where this long spanning corridor in an area was used for a puzzle, used for an actual gameplay trope, or a way to go through, which was really disappointing as it just wasted the player's time. But still, giving all of that, I'm giving the game an 8 out of 10 for graphics and art style, as I thought it looked great and it felt great. Now, moving on to music, my favorite part. The music in this game is very eerie, never felt out of place, and it flowed quite well. There's not much I could say about it, I'm not gonna lie. This game really didn't have standout music. There was never a section where it built tension. There was never a section where it gave the player relief. There was never anywhere in the game where music gave you a certain emotion, I should say. It was forgettable. It was uninspired. It felt like a lot of the time it was just there as eerie music to fit the game. It was never really there. It didn't feel like the music was there to follow you and help you. Felt like it was just there to not be in silence, which I personally would have preferred if the game was in silence than to have music that did nothing to help the game at all. I am giving it a 5 out of 10, even though I didn't like it, because it didn't seem out of place. It fit in most cases. It wasn't anything special. It was eerie music downloaded from SoundCloud by some like 15-year-old making scary music during a phase, but it did feel like it fit in the game. Next, let's move on to difficulty. As far as challenges, this isn't one. The game does not require you to think much for any section at all. You can easily get through each area with a simple mind and like simply going forward. There was never really much of a challenge, but the difficulty rating, I always say, does it fit the theme? As a horror adventure, where you consider it as a scary game and a difficult adventure with some challenging aspects, no, it's not good. But taking it from a different light, in a more casual market of a fun horror game with some spooky aspects, not scary aspects, the game does fit well. So if you're a player who enjoys getting their shit scared out of them or getting stumped on puzzles, this is not the game. But this is a game for a casual audience who, let's say, never played a scary game or are very new to the genre and want to play a scary game that they won't give up because they are scared. It's that kind of feel. And in that regard, as a fun horror game, I'm going to give it a rating out of 8 out of 10. If this was a true adventure horror, I want to scare myself difficulty kind of game, I don't know, because I don't rate them like that. It was not difficult. That's what I'm going to say. It fit the theme. The theme of a fun adventure. It didn't fit the theme of a super hard scary game, but I don't think it was targeted that way. In any case, that is my rating. You can challenge me in the comments, but I've already recorded the video and I'll just say, well, it's too late. That covers all the standard sections. Now onto a more personal section, which is my enjoyment. I'd like to start by saying I had fun. Not many games can have you saying you had fun. They can either say I was scared throughout the game and tense, and that was the great part, but no, this overall, I had fun in the game. The game had me question the story, the ending, and certain aspects of it well after I finished the game, which not many games also can do, where I'm playing another game still questioning what happened in the game I just played. But sadly, the duration of the game was short. I feel like I prefer longer titles because I get more immersed in the game, in the story, in the world. Whereas here, they didn't really do that. What they did is provide a short, good experience and nothing more, really. But as that stands, I will give the game an 8 out of 10, as I did have a lot of fun. Right, so that covers all sections in detail. I'd like to talk about the time to completion, as I've mentioned it multiple times already. The game did take me 4.5 hours to complete. And if I were to count all the secret gathering, such as hats, which I'm not gonna do, it would probably take me longer, but I've never bothered to do that. I'm not a completionist. I'm not the completionist. So you're gonna have to take it. This is a average gamer reviews, meaning one playthrough. Did I find everything? No, I missed 3 hats throughout my entire playthrough, which are the collectibles. And the only other part, then it would have probably taken me a single more run through the game to find them all. But I do feel like the game was overall too short. I give about 10 to 20 hours for a playthrough of an adventure horror game or a survival horror game. They are like quite mixed together, the genres. And this game coming below half really did not suit my standards for duration. But I will say this, if the mechanics stayed the same and they just extended the game to 10 hours, you would get bored at the 6 to 8 hour mark, because there is nothing there new to keep you. They would have to invent, creating more complex gameplay, and I don't think that's what they were going for. But I am not rating it on the duration. That does not factor into other sections. Maybe my personal enjoyment subconsciously, but nothing else. But that's everything, I guess. If you've kept track, you'll know I gave Little Nightmares 2 a score of 43 out of 60, putting it at an A rank on the tier list. As for my recommendation, if you are new to the genre, or a huge fan of the game and the series, and don't mind putting down £25 for a 4-hour experience, go right ahead. But for anyone else, due to the duration of the game, I would say wait for a sale or a discount. But yeah, that's my rating. And that's the review. Let me know in the comments down below if you think I reviewed this fairly, if you think I missed some aspects of the game, or you have any other generic feedback on the format. But for now, tap the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a fucking comment, and I'll see you lot on the next one. Peace.